What's up, HOA MMA fans? Welcome back to the show. AJ, how are you feeling after a week layoff where we just couldn't catch up? And how you feeling, man?
Well, I'm getting a bit of a sore throat. Pause. So had to do it, man. Had to do it, man. But yeah. So just feeling a little bit unwell. Normally around this time of year, whenever it gets cold, like properly. Our summer's been going on for quite a bit longer than usual over here, but it's finally getting cold again. Around that time, I'm when we get a little bit sick. Um, Apart from that, I'll just keep myself busy. Life, family, friends, just keeping myself busy as much as I can, running as much as running outside as much as I can whilst it's still warm, as it is getting colder as well. Playing a lot more football, and I'm not talking about NFL. I'm talking about the other football. The one where we actually kick a ball a lot more. But apart from all that, man, I've been good. I've been good. But actually, before we go into what I was going to say, how has things been with you over on the other side of the pond?
Doing pretty good overall. Got a raise at work, so that's always exciting.
Oh,
So
we love to see that, bro. We
yeah,
love to see that.
more money, more problems. In my
Mm,
case, less problems, but you know how it goes.
mm,
Just staying busy, man. Got a lot of shows going on. We keep pumping out this show. We're doing really well in this show, so I'm excited about that. Um, Actually, got something I'm gonna show you later this week that for next week potentially. So some good things coming. Staying busy. Started a book collection. I'm building a bookshelf to go in my living room here. So
Oh,
I'm gonna start
nice.
collecting some books and start trying to read a little bit more. But other than that, man, just kids staying busy. My daughter's got tumbling. Son's over here every other weekend, and we're always trying to do something with him when he's here. So yeah, just the normal family stuff. But AJ, let's get
Yes,
into what we're here for. We did
indeed.
miss some time. We missed, about 2 weeks, give or take, however you want to shake it out. We missed a lot of combat sports. Catch us up in the world of combat on what we missed while we were gone.
But well, where do I start? A lot's happened, and especially in the last 24 hours, which we'll go into a little bit later on as well. Like seismic shift all across. But the first thing that really stuck up to mind for me that we missed out on was I was watching a Cage Warriors card like the other day, and it was good. Like it
Mhm.
was a very good, fairly good card. A lot of homegrown talent over here performing, but there was one guy in particular that really stood out to me. Luke Riley, 24 years old, for featherweight, undefeated, fights against another guy. I think his name's Luft. I think he's undefeated. Well, he was undefeated as well. Luke Riley's getting his ass beat over 2 rounds. Like
Mhm.
he's getting poured on. It's a great fight. Like Luke Riley's having his moments as well, but he's getting beat. Third round, the other guys kind of threw the kitchen sink at him.
Yeah.
He's kind of beginning to fade a little bit. Luke Riley, literally in the third round, just pours it on. Like he just keeps on going, and he eventually gets to finish. Um, if you don't know much about him, it's probably because you probably don't want a lot of like Cage Warriors, or maybe don't know that many like European talent. But I'll
Mhm.
recommend this guy does not have a boring fight. He's literally like Justin Gaethje in a way, just wars. He only knows one way how to fight. He fights in wars.
Yeah.
He's a scout as well, so he's got that big fan base over there. He's in Paddy the Baddy's gym as well, but he is really talented. He's someone that really stood up for me, and that I'm gonna be keeping my eyes on him moving forward. In one, we have a new Antonweight champion.
Yeah.
Stamtax finally won the belt with a mean body shot. Like her level of like Muay Thai striking is just amazing. Like, and she's only 25, I believe, and she is a kickboxing world champion, a Muay Thai world champion. Now she's an MMA world champion. So a really good win for her. On the flip side of that fight was originally for the interim belt because the former champion Angela Lee has now retired at the age of 27. Anyone who kind of knows about her, you know what happened with her family recently
Mhm.
around the end of last year. As sad it is to see someone that good retire so young, you can tell that after what happened towards her sister, you know, she does her heart isn't in it anymore. And the fact that she's gonna, you know, she's open up about her own personal battles as well, start up her own like charity, you know, to help fighters who deal with mental health and stuff like that. That's something you have to, you know, commend her for. Wish her
For
all the
sure.
best in that moving forward. Bellator the card had its 300
Yeah.
event. Didn't really go to plan. You know, they had 4 title fights, and you know, Ryan Bader's one fell out because his opponent was injured. The other one at flyweight, I believe, McFarlane didn't make weight, so it wasn't
Right.
really a title fight per se. Chris Cyborg does, you know, Chris Cyborg things. First round finish against Kat Zingano. You know,
Yep.
really apart from Amanda Nunes, Cyborg has been like near enough perfect inside the cage. You know,
Mhm.
she's I think it's her 5th defense, so she's just gonna until someone beats her. She's just gonna keep just running through people. And Usman Nurmagomedov is too good for Bellator. He's too good for Bellator, and I
That
and
guy.
and I hate saying that because it's unfair to like say, oh, no, one promotion is better than the other. But in terms of the caliber of opponents in which he's facing, he's too
Yeah.
good. He needs to be in the best 155 division in the world, which is in the UFC. You want to see how good he really is because he is absolutely outstanding.
Was he 18-0 now?
18-0, yeah.
Wild.
And the
Wild.
and the thing about him, he has legit hands. Like he has more knockout finishes than he has like submissions or like he can stand with you. Don't just think because he's obviously Habib's cousin and he's Dagestani that all he's gonna do, he's literally just gonna wrestle you. He does have that in his locker, but he will stand with you. And out of all of that like group of like Habib when Habib was fighting Islam, Umar, who is his older brother, Usman has the best hands by far. He has an amazing question mark kick.
Mhm.
He is absolutely sensational. So I wouldn't be shocked if he comes over to the UFC eventually. And last but not least, in PFL, Cedric Doumbé, man. I mean,
That guy. That guy's a different kind of animal, man. That guy's dangerous.
he's incredible. I remember telling you like things like a couple of years ago. We had a conversation of what guys would we like to join the UFC who are not
Mhm.
fighting in there right now, and he is one of them. Former Glory welterweight champion. He actually had a fight lined up in Paris on the Garn 2000 card last year. It fell through because of medical reasons for him. It didn't, and then you know. Um, there was a lot of back and forth in terms of like contracts and stuff, like moving forward. So he decided to come to the PFL. This is how crazy it is over there, right? So you know his opponent is just called Jordan. I can't remember his
Yep.
surname. He's French as well. They're fighting in Paris, and you got Kylian Mbappe there, who's a big sports superstar, whatnot. Cedric Doumbé comes out with a pillow saying with it has Jordan's name on it, saying that you are going to be put to sleep.
Yeah.
The
I
crowd's
saw that.
roaring. The crowd's roaring, right? He comes into the cage. He quiets the crowd down. And if you know about French fans, they're passionate as hell. So the fact
Mhm.
that he can command over the crowd shows how much of a hero he is over there. He shouts out Jordan, and the crowd is screaming back, "You're dead." Because
Yeah,
imagine
it's
you're
a wild
fighting
scene.
in your home country and your people screaming, you're dead" at him. And not only that, he knocks him out in 7 seconds with an amazing combination.
It was, yeah, it was disgusting. It was really like it doesn't get much more picture perfect than what he was able to accomplish that night. Like just it was just magic, man. He's only 31 too. He's only 31. He's got a lot of time, and he's only what 5 fights in mixed martial arts. So he's got time, man. He can make a big run.
I'm gonna say this: do not stand with him. Do not stand with that guy. He's one of the best kickboxers on the planet for a reason. Just
Yeah,
don't stand with the guy because he's probably gonna put you out.
for sure.
Sensational.
Um, AJ, you got anything else that we missed in the world of combat sports?
We had Canelo against Charlo, which
Yeah.
kind of went how I thought it would be.
Mhm.
Canelo was a, a bit too big and
Right.
was a bit too much of a bully, and he kind of bullied Charlo. So
Yeah.
yeah, which to be fair, you can't fault someone who's going to move up 2 weight classes. But again, considering Charlo has been calling him, his brother been calling Canelo out for years, the fact that you didn't really come to fight, you kind of came to survive, is a
Mhm.
little bit of a disappointment. But I'm not shocked at it.
Yeah.
So
No, I get that. That's, you like you said you predicted it to go that way. You thought the size would be an issue, and it was. I mean, that's the breaks. If we don't have anything else that we missed, let's jump ahead to something that just happened. I believe it was yesterday morning.
mhm,
Um, USADA and UFC um, they have split. They're no longer working hand in hand. Obviously, USADA is the testing pool. It was part of the UFC's anti-doping policy. This all changes now at the end of the year. No longer will USADA be testing for the UFC. Um, I wanted to ask you, what kind of implications do you think that has going forward, starting next year? What changes, in your opinion, now that there's no longer going to be the USADA testing pool and things like that?
I think it's too early to say. I guess we would really know in terms of what what does the UFC do moving forward? Is it a case of, are they going to do it all in house now, or are they going to go with some other group? It's very early to say. Um, what I will say, the fact that Conor McGregor has recently entered the pool, and then all of a sudden they're gonna split ways in January,
Yep,
isn't that doesn't really look good because
not
it's
at all.
it's not really good at all. I mean, I don't want to say things like for facts, but most people are gonna say that McGregor's looked huge recently. Like, he's bulked up a lot. He's coming off a horrific leg break. You know, and if you're able to use a lot more supplements, you're going to heal a lot faster. Some things are banned, obviously, and the fact that he's finally entered the pool and he has to be in it for 6 months, and I think UFC 300 is way before then. If
Mhm.
you kind of put two and two together, like at this point now, that now we're in January 1st, 2024, that USADA is not going to be anymore. And I'll say this: USADA has done a really good job, in my personal opinion, in making the sport cleaner. And nothing's perfect. Like, nothing's perfect. Like, I don't agree with waking up fighters in the middle of the night, or if they're going through like a weight cut at like really inconsiderate times, like to test them, or over testing certain people heavily against other people. But it just isn't a good look. But in terms of how it's gonna affect things moving forward, it really depends on what the UFC decides to do next, which obviously now just remains to be seen.
Yeah. I'm pretty much with you on all that. It's definitely a wait and see situation. There's got to be some form of testing. It
Has to
it,
be.
it just can't be the Wild West. I know that the USADA and UFC had problems, and there's issues with testing certain fighters, how many times they would test them, and some of the ways they went about stuff. But there's got to be some kind of regulations and guidelines going forward. But let's move to something that's a little more interesting. Um, Let me ask this before we get into the nuts and bolts of it. Is UFC 294 more interesting today than it was last week?
Yes.
I totally agree. Now,
Yes.
here's what Alexander Volkanovski steps in for Charles Oliveira after Oliveira got a nasty, nasty cut above his eyebrow. Let me ask you about that to start. Why the hell is Charles fighting that hard enough to get cut that badly 10 days out from a fight? That's absurd. That's a lot. That cut was different. That's not a normal that's not a
Mm,
normal cut, man. That was deep.
two things. He trains at Shooter Box. They are known for training hard. Again, in 2023, you would imagine they'll train a little bit more conservative, closer towards the fight. Secondly, those things can happen at any point in sparring. Like you can just like at any point, you may not be even going too hard. If you catch someone or nick them in a certain way, you know, depending, some people have a lot more like tissue like around their skin.
Mhm.
Like you just never know. But don't get me wrong, that cut is horrific. Like that right there is a very, very deep cut. But I do understand that on the one side, I'm kind of like you in a way, if I'm fighting for the belt, like I'm fighting in a world title fight,
Mhm.
11 days out, I'm probably not going to be going that hard in training. But again, they may feel like he's comfortable doing that. But again, on the flip side, you're going to increase the risk of things like that happening, which can happen at like any point. But you know, there's no way after having that cut like he was gonna like be able to
No.
fight that.
No,
No way.
that cut was ridiculous. It was actually ridiculous. Um, but let's spin this to a positive. We got Islam versus Volk 2. That's as big as it gets in the sport right now. That's after how hard Volk pushed him, man, I'm excited. But that's for next week. Let's jump into the second half of UFC 294. Paulo Costa is untrustworthy. He's been untrustworthy for a long time. I know he's potentially in the hospital, but I don't trust what he's saying anyway. I just
He's
don't.
got he's got a staph infection. Have you not seen his elbow? No, look.
That could be his cousin's elbow. I don't trust the guy. He's pulled out. He's been removed from fight. He's look at his fight history now. It's not good. He's
Oh
not.
no. After the Marvin Vittori situation, you can never fully trust him again.
So while yes, the staph infection, I do understand that. It, it just feels like there's always something with Paulo Costa, always. But we get Kamaru Usman to step in to fight Hazmat Chimaev in a really, really interesting fight. What are your thoughts on is Usman the right replacement and the fight? We won't go too far, obviously, because next week this is where we really get into it. But what are your thoughts on this now?
I understand that logically, if you got two guys fighting at middleweight, even though one of them is a ranked welterweight, but we know that he can't make that weight most likely ever again. Against someone who was a former title challenger in a fight that was probably going to be a eliminator of sorts. I wouldn't say title eliminator potentially, but just of sorts. Um,
Oh, quick question before you go really into it. Dana White did come out and say this is a number one contenders fight today.
yeah, so, yeah.
So so keep going.
And considering that they were having a hard time finding another ranked midweight to kind of like come in and like step in, you know,
Yeah.
and because I know Roman the Lidsey kind of said I'll come and fight, but as good as he is, probably doesn't have the name. And if you pick a bank of what happened, because we did have a backup fighter for Charles against Islam who was Gamrot. Obviously, Alex Volkanovski has come in, and it kind of brings up the point that I'm going to make in a sense of this fight is in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi happens once a year, and it's a big call for them. And
Mhm.
the people over there have put a lot of money into MMA and having the UFC over there. There's probably some talks of like we need to find the biggest name possible to save this card.
Yeah.
Like, as great as Islam is, and even though Dubai is pretty much like it's like a home fight over there basically for him, and
Mhm.
he'll bring a ton of fans in. Gamrot against Islam doesn't hit the same as Alex against Islam. The same way Delize against Shemaev wouldn't hit the same against Usman against Shemaev, and also outside of the champ and Izzy. and maybe Rob. There isn't really that much name with cash A to really say justify having against someone like Shemaev, who, even though we know last year he messed up with the whole Nate thing, but he's still a massive name. He's still
Yeah,
a massive name. So the fact that they got a former champion and a all-time great in Kamaru who's going to move up and weight, and also there's been talks about them two fighting for a while now, even though it's meant to be at 100, 170. It makes sense. You know,
yeah,
you can kind of get a bigger name against one of the biggest rising stars in the sport, and now it's made this Dubai card even huger. So it makes sense. It makes sense from a business point of view and from a match money point of view. Having going from Charles and Paulo Costa to to literally
crazy.
Volkanovski and Usman just shows that the UFC is number one at matchmaking
Yeah,
by far.
yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. Yeah, I think it's a better card today than it was the other day, and I think the reasons you've said are perfectly clear. I cannot wait to talk about these fights next week, man. This is exciting stuff. Um, but we've touched on this enough. Let's move on to last week's Bobby Green versus Dawson fight night. Bobby Green's going to be in the top 10 of his weight class now.
He's ranked
I
13. They've ranked him 13,
They didn't give him top 10.
13.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't even double check because I thought it was a for sure thing.
same
That's
here.
fucked. That's fucked. Bobby Green deserves to be in the top 10 of that weight class right now. That's fucked.
I mean,
Okay,
you literally flatlined the 10th ranked guy in like
you're supposed to take his spot. Wow, that's fucked.
let me actually
Okay,
but I've last time I checked, he's ranked 13.
let me look. Let me see if there's any. Wow, that's fucked. Let me check while we talk about this. What were your thoughts on this fight night card overall, and take us into some of the outcomes you thought uh, really caught your eye?
I thought for a Apex card, because I know whenever we see Apex, everyone just goes, you know. But it was a really, really good card in terms of the matchmaking. And but boy, I was wrong about the main event because I was very high on Dawson, especially in his last fight when he beat Demir, and Demir is really, really good, and Dawson kind of just dog walked him a little bit. He kind of just like babied him a bit,
Yeah,
and I would have thought that Dawson would have been able to take Bobby Green down and impose his will on him, and kind of, Bobby Green coming off, choking out Tony Ferguson. This is Dawson's time to, to kind of go out there and be a name and kind of put himself on the map of, I'm obviously ranked top 10. I beat a guy who's well known within the sport. This is going to be my time to shine. I'm going to kick on now. Bobby Green went hold my beer and just literally the first real punch he threw, and it was literally just a very clean, like straight left. It didn't even rock him. It didn't even like rock him. It literally just put him down, and he just didn't like recover at all.
right.
It kind of looked like as if Dawson had never been hit clean in the face before.
I think in past fights we've seen Dawson get touched just a little bit, and he does not like it at all. It's
Hmm.
immediately into a shot for a takedown or something like that. So I'm not necessarily surprised by him getting touched up like that, but I did expect a little more resistance from him
Yeah.
on the feet. That was total domination by Bobby. Um, Let me ask you about another guy who's was really impressive on the card. And you were right. Um, yeah, he's 13th. Dawson dropped down to 15th. That's rough, man. I don't love that for Bobby Green. I thought he deserved the spot. Let's talk about Joe Pfeiffer and that arm triangle in the second round. This guy's starting to look pretty legit at middleweight. What are your thoughts on Joe?
I kind of thought this fight was going to be a bit of a shootout because Abdul just loves just knocking people out. And Joe
Mhm.
Pyfer is fun to watch. You know, in his fight so far, he literally comes out to throw down. But so Abdul Razak Hassan, I think I'm saying his name correctly.
Mhm.
Um, this fight kind of showed that he's too small to be a middleweight. He should go back down to 170 because the way Joe Pyfer was grabbing on those double legs and just exploding and literally lifting him off the ground with ease and slamming him,
Yeah. It
the
got
size
yeah.
was an issue. The size was an issue, and once Joe got into top control, like, and that was pretty much it. You know, I feel like the ref should have called it a bit earlier because even though it looked like he was trying to punch him, Abdul was like tapping out,
Yeah.
but the ref thought, okay, he's trying to punch him, but there's a difference between punching with a bit more force to try to get them off and having your hand in the fist and kind of just tapping, because at that point there you're probably not thinking, you know, you're literally getting choked. You're literally getting
Right.
choked. Like everything in your brain is just going just like to mush. And then 5 seconds later, he's literally just taking a nap. But very, very impressive like for Joe. Um so I would imagine he's probably gonna keep on rising. Again, I know that middleweight is very, very bare and they need names, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't try rush him into find someone who's ranked and stuff like that. You know, literally just keep on just letting him build, get more time inside the octagon. But yeah, very, very
Okay.
impressive.
Next guy that I wanted to talk about whose stock's going way up at welterweight, Joaquin Buckley, a guy that we've been very supportive of, big fans of.
Should
Can this guy make a run at 170? Can he push how far can he go at 170, do you think?
This was the most impressive performance from him because he was very measured. We've all seen him do the very highlight reel KOs. You know, he can explode. You know, he can knock people out in one punch. You know, when Butley can go, he can really go. He can really go, and sometimes that's played against him in middleweight where he'll run in against Chris Curtis, like he'll come exploding in, and then you know he'll get cool
Yeah.
against the Italian fighter who's not really UFC anymore. I think Choricio when he
Yeah.
came running in, head kick, laid him out, all of that. But he should have against Morono, where you know Morono's he's pretty tough. He's
Mhm.
pretty tough. He's pretty decent all round, and Buckley had a physical advantage over him, and it showed because whenever he was landing on him, he was hurting him. But he knew not to really rush. He knew that okay, if I rush and if I like if I empty my gas tank and I don't somehow get get him out, I'm gonna be in trouble because Morona can kind of take punishment and if the other person fades, he can come on strong.
Right.
And he literally just kept focused and was touching him up and just beating him to like those flipping kicks those kicks towards the body were just hellacious.
Yeah,
So
for
I'm
sure.
very, very impressed with him. You know, if if he can show at this at 170 that he can be disciplined but
Mhm.
still have those moments where you know if he can kind of like smell blood when he knows when to explode and do those crazy dynamic finishes, he could definitely make some noise. And I can see why he wants to fight Kevin Holland again at 170. That would be very, very interesting. So,
Yeah.
but and there's a lot of I'll say fan friendly fights for him moving
Oh,
forward.
yeah. Yeah, for
But
sure. He's got tons of
he's
options.
he's so fun to watch, but he should have got performance of the night because he was easily the most impressive, like
Agreed.
for me.
Looking at the rest of this card, was there anything that you wanted to touch on from this fight night besides what we kind of alluded to?
Drew Job has got the lightweight record now. He literally does what Drew Dober does. He
Hmm.
li- he literally just smashed him. He just
Yeah.
smashed him. He just smashed him. You know. Very, very impressive. Bill Aljo, he actually kind of surprised me. I actually thought Alexander Hernandez was going to get this one,
I
um
did too.
Hernandez is very he's when he's on, he's really good. He showed in his debut, he literally flatlined Benil Dariush in the first round, and that kind of shows what the kind of talent like he's capable of. But then when he isn't on, he can be a bit lackluster. And
Very.
but all credit to Bill Alger because he that right there is a really really good win.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with Hernandez. There's not the consistency you'd like to see from a guy that has his skill set.
Mm.
I think that yeah, that's a good mention of that because he's lost some fights that you thought this guy could have really won this and started something, but it just always just seems to be something in his way. Um, let's jump ahead to this weekend's fight night card. We've got Yussuf versus Barboza. This should be a fun one. What fights on this card really stick out to you?
First of all, and I did, and this is crazy to me. How is Yanez against Martinez not even at least co-main event?
I was going to ask you actually about that. Is
Like,
that, and this is we like women's fighting. We like watching ladies fight. We've seen a lot of high profile fights. Is that just to put some diversity on the card, do you think? I'm
I'll
not
be.
trying to take a shot at the women. That just seems like it's possible.
I'm not even gonna go there. I prefer this as a main event over Yusuf Barboza.
Oh, really? You wanted to go that far? Okay, that's fine. Okay, I get
Bantamweight
that.
is bantamweight is too stacked, and this fight should be fireworks. I have this as my fight of the night, and
For
I
sure.
understand. I understand that obviously Barboza is like a legend. He's been around for a long time. Ev- e- everyone who's watched MMA have seen him do knocking out Benil, doing that crazy spinning heel kick to Terry Etam. We've all kind of like seen he has one of the greatest highlight reel packages of any file ever. I get
Yeah,
that, but it would have been really nice to see bantam. Like I kind of guess this is just my personal thoughts. Like I really want bantamweight to kind of be pushed as the premium division because of how much talent it is,
hmm
and having like Yanez against Martinez would have been a really good way of like doing that because also both guys are ranked and
right.
their rankings are not too different from Yusuf and Barboda's and Barbosa soul. So I would have liked that to be the main event, but as a fight, Giannis has a lot to prove. He kind
Mhm.
of, when he kind of made his big step, Rump Funk kind of just big broed him, and
Yeah, he
he
did.
made him pay. Like he made him pay. He made him pay. And Giannis is better than that. Like he has he's one of the best pure boxers within MMA. Martinez can more than throw down. He is dynamic as hell.
hmm
His leg kicks, his knees. That fight has all the makers to be something very, very, very entertaining and special.
For
So
sure. That's a really big fight. I'm excited for that one. I believe Martinez has won five or six straight, five straight for sure. I think his last loss was against Davy Grant. That's a big time fight.
and
Anything on
he's
the undercard catch your eye?
and he's coming off a good win against Saeed Nurmagomedov in a
Yes.
very, very contested fight. I remember when we were watching that, like we both said that fight was amazing.
Yeah.
Um on the undercard,
Terrence McKinney's fighting again. That guy's always busy.
yeah, and there's someone else as well who's fine on.
Chris Gutierrez is fighting too.
Yeah, he was meant to fight last week, but then obviously that fight kind of dropped out. Those are the two. Terence McKinney's opponent is making his UFC debut. He's
Yeah.
only had one loss, but he has a lot of knockouts. So, who knows? That could obviously play into Terence's hands. I do
Mhm.
like the fact that they want to give Terence a lot of fights as possible before they give him a step up to try and like rebuild him in a way. Gutierrez
Feel like he
is
should be fighting on the main card, but that's just
yeah,
me.
like this is the guy who literally retired for Frankie Edgar, and I know in the last fight he lost against Pedro Munoz, but he's still very
Yeah.
good. Again, that shows how good bantamweight is.
Right.
I
That's
don't,
a good
I
point
don't
too.
I don't think Gutierrez is even ranked right now. And another thing as well, on the main card, we've got Rodriguez, who beat Rosas Jr., who's 9-1, against Cameron Simon. Cameron Simon is 9-0, 22 years of old, a slick southpaw. He is a really, really good prospect at
Mhm.
135 pounds. Again, we have literally we have literally three instances where that shows how crazy talented 135 pounds is.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the main card. Let's pick them. Christian Rodriguez versus Cameron Simon. This is a good one. This is a good one, man. How do you see this one shaking out?
On one hand, you've got Rodriguez, he can do a bit of everything, but he has an advantage in the grappling department. Simon, like I said, southpaw, amazing kickboxing. I think he was a K1 champion in South Africa as well. Um,
This is
I
tough.
this is hard because even though Simon is obviously 9-0, Rodriguez is only 9-1. And they're both young. I think Rodriguez is 25, Simon is 22.
Hmm.
But I have a feeling that Cameron is going to take this one because there is actually something about him that kind of shows that he has a very high ceiling. He has a very high ceiling. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if somehow Rodriguez is able to take him down and kind of keep him down there and impose his will per se. But Cameron, I feel like Cameron is going to be probably a bit too slick,
Okay,
just a bit too slick for him.
I like that. I'm just gonna take Rodriguez just to have some difference on the card here. I do think I really like the way Simon fights. It's just this is like a flip of the coin to me. If you remember, Rodriguez is the guy who beat up Rosas Jr. So yeah, he's got a little bit of cachet coming into this fight after that win. Let me pick him to keep the momentum going after the Rosas win. Next fight, we've got Edgar Chairez versus Daniel Lacerda. Um, Interesting fight here. A couple guys with both guys have 5 losses. Both guys are still 27. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Chairez gave my guy Tyra a scare last time in Tyra's last
Mhm.
fight. Remember in the third round when like he literally got him in that guillotine. And I remember you saying if it was a few more seconds longer,
Yeah,
my guy was going to be in a lot of trouble. He was actually meant to be fighting on this card. He was finally going to get his chance against a ranked opponent, but for some reason that fight fell through. I can't remember why.
we're talking about Tatsuro Tara, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tassaro Tara, yeah. But Torres has shown if you're able to compete with someone that good on the ground, you are legit. And Daniel Da Silva, I think his name is, he's solid as well. But
Hmm.
I am gonna go for Edgar. I'm gonna go for Edgar second round submission.
Not bad, not bad. Didn't they have the no contest? They had no contest on the Grasso card, right? Shevchenko
Yes,
card.
yes.
I remember us talking about Edgar versus Tatsaro and him being close. I'm gonna roll with him. I like the way he fought against Tatsaro. Yeah, let me get Chairez here to win this one.
And
Next fight.
and I
What? Go
always
ahead.
and I always like whenever fights end in like a no contest, or like a draw per se. Whenever they fight again so soon afterwards, there is more time it's going to be finished because both guys are going to fight with a lot of urgency to kind of be like, I want this to be definitive as well.
For sure, that's a great point. Next fight up at middleweight: Andre Petrovsky versus Michelle Pereira. Um, can Petrovsky beat Pereira here? What are your thoughts?
He can. He's more. The thing about Michel Pereira is that he's now been kind of forced to move up to middleweight after the whole wonder boy issue.
Get him
You
out of
know,
there.
it's gonna be a case of, is he able to be as dynamic now moving up in weight? Because because you're gonna have a lot more mass on you and you'll be fighting more closer towards your towards your natural weight. You're gonna have a lot more muscle mass to you. Are you gonna be able to obviously do what you do at welterweight, carrying a lot more on you across obviously 3 rounds? Podolski, what basically Podolski needs to do is he needs to kind of limit like the big plays. It's like, it's kind of like if you're playing against the Miami Dolphins, you need to make sure that you basically just don't let them get the just kind of get like the big home run plays, when
Mhm.
they throw the bombs to Tyreek. Pereira is very dynamic and very, very explosive. Like he will go out there and he'll do crazy shit. Like
Yes.
he will do the most spectacular, crazy stuff out there. But with that, it runs a risk of obviously him emptying his tank. But if he does land on you doing one of those, you're probably gonna get laid out.
Mhm.
So I'll say the best way to do it is literally just to kind of push him back
Yep.
and kind of just like nullify him.
Keep your
Podolski,
hands on him.
yeah, literally, like you need to you need to not make this fight clean. You need to make this dirty and
Yeah.
be literally just be in his chest, just be in his chest at like all times. That being said, I do have Michelle Pereira winning.
I do also. I do think Petrosky, like you said, it's got to be dirty. He's got trips. You got to be trying to trip him, get him down to the mat whenever you can. Petrosky does have a solid takedown game. Just you got to get him down there and you got to wear on him. He's carrying more weight around in a fight than he probably walks around a little bit heavier. You know how that goes. But in the fight, he's not as used to fighting at the 185. Wear on him. You got to wear on him. Like you said, limit the big strikes, limit the big plays. And I think it'll be an interesting fight. But I do also have Pereira winning this fight. Just too many tools in the tool shed for him in this one. This one should be an interesting breakdown here. Jonathan Martinez, Adrian Yanez. You said you started this off by saying this is the fight of the night. Who wins the fight of the night then?
Boy, like I said earlier, Martinez is coming off a great win, and Giannis is kind of coming with his tail between his legs because let's be real, Giannis had a lot of hype around him. He was going to be he was going to be one of those next bantamweights breaking through for face against Rob Font, who on paper was kind of a stylistic favorable matchup,
Mm-hmm.
and Rob Font went not today, and he made him pay.
Oh yeah.
Um, Martinez has very good kicks. Giannis has very, very good boxing, and both of them are
Mhm.
very quick. Both of them are very lightning quick. Giannis needs to keep it clean and not get into any wild like trading, because when that happens, that is when he runs at risk of getting caught. Don't get me wrong. There's been times against Davy Grant and Randy Costa when there was times when like he was trading with them and he was able to come through it.
Mm-hmm.
But at this, but at this level now, you're now ranked. Everyone around you is literally elite level, especially in this weight class. Like there's people outside of the top 15 who are crazy good. Example, Cameron Simon and Christian Rodriguez. He
Yeah.
needs to keep it clean, but at the same time, Martinez can pull something out of the bag, and if he's able to chop at Giannis's legs and can like limit like his movement, he can kind of capitalize on that. This one is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
This one is my fight of the night. I feel like Giannis is probably going to learn his lesson this time, and he's going to find a way to have a very spectacular performance.
Wow. Okay. I'm going Martinez. I liked what I saw from him last time he went out. If he can build on that, this is another big time fight for him. I think beating Saeed last time also a major boost Yeah, give me Martinez to win this one. I don't know if it gets to a decision, but I think I'm going to go with Martinez to win this one. Next fight, Jennifer Maya versus Vivian. How do you say her last name? Ajayo? Ajayo?
Arroyo.
Oh, maybe the R. Yeah, the R's are different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what do you got in this one? Jennifer Maya, veteran of the sport. You think she can get it done in this one?
Jennifer Maya in her. So I'm gonna ring off a few of Jennifer Maya's last few losses. Grosso, Shevchenko, and Chikagan.
I've never heard of any of those people. Can you tell me about them?
Yeah, sure. I'll recommend that you're probably on the wrong podcast if you've never heard of these people.
Didn't she lose the Mannion also? Fiat?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
She's getting beat by murderers,
Wait,
killers.
do you know what? I may need to actually correct myself. I don't think she may have faced Grosso. I think I may have confused Manon with her.
Let me pull it up just to confirm. I
Yes,
think you're right.
yeah,
It's
you're
good.
right. Yes. So in her last five, no, in her last six, she is 3-3. Her three losses have been to Manon, Caitlin, Shevchenko. Nothing that is literally as good as it gets when it comes to flyweight. And she's coming off beating Casey O'Neill, who had a lot of hype around her, and she literally took her to school.
Yes, yes, she did.
She took her to school. So, and it's very clear to me that if you are going to beat Jennifer Maya, who is one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in that weight class, who has decent is decent on the feet as well, you're gonna have to be you're gonna have to be in that tier of like really elite flyweights.
For
And
sure.
I'm not sure if Vivian will have any answer for her. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's a very dominant win over 3 rounds. In my humble opinion.
Um, yeah, I'm right there with you. Jennifer Maya is a bad bitch, man. She can fight, flat out go. If you are not a championship contender, you probably cannot beat her. I think she goes out with the unanimous decision in this one, and handles business. Let's get to the main event. Um, why is it? Oh shoot. We've got Yussuf versus Barboza in the main event here. Um, how do you see this one going, man? This is an important fight for Yussuf at 13-2. He's fighting obviously an older version of Barboza, but a still dangerous Barboza here at featherweight. What are your thoughts on this fight?
This is Yusuf's chance to really put like his name on put his name out there. He's kind of flown under like the radar. There
He
was a
is.
bit of type about him coming up like a couple of years ago, right when he fought against Arnold Allen, and there was
Yep.
that fight's kind of seen as, which one of the two is going to go on and make that next step. We saw in that fight, and Arnold kind of handed him very,
Yes, he
very
did.
easily. And we obviously seen since then Arnold's gone on to do really, really good things. Obviously coming up short against Max Holloway, which is nothing to
Uh,
be ashamed of. Which is nothing to be ashamed of at all.
it happens to everybody but Alex Volkanovski. It literally happens to everybody.
Literally. So but since then, Yusuf broke my guy Bruce Levi, Alex Caceres' 5-fight win streak like a while back, and he recently got his first submission win as well. So he's shown that he's very good everywhere. He's very strong. And to kind of go back to reference his fight against Alex Caceres, not obviously Volkanovski.
Right.
He used a lot of like leg kicks. He's
Mhm.
gonna have to do that against Barboza in the sense that you're gonna have to like slow him down and take his biggest weapon away from him,
Mhm.
because we know that even though Barboza is 37 years old and he's older, he can still pull something out. We saw against
Billy
Billy
Q.
Billy Q was doing well until he did everything right, like you're supposed to go for a takedown against someone who's that good on the feet, but Barboza is crafty enough. He will throw in a knee and he can put you out. That being said, because this fight is over 5 rounds, and we've seen that if you're able to wear on Barboza and get past the first 2 rounds, and
Mhm.
if you're still in it, you can kind of make him fade. I am gonna go for Sadiq. I'm gonna go for Sadiq to have his moment in the 4th round.
Okay. I'm with you on that, mainly because I think it is a 5 round fight. I don't think Barbosa goes as crazy because of the potential of those extra championship rounds. I think that gives Yussuf a little bit of an advantage. Um, but yeah, give me Yussuf also 4th round. That's not a bad time. Yeah, so give me Yussuf to win this one. Also, I'm with you on that one. AJ, that pretty much covers the UFC Fight Night event that coming this weekend. What else you got for us before we get out of here, man? Tell us a little bit about your journey through Middle Earth.
Ah, yes, AJ's film corner. Um, yeah, so I rewatched The Hobbit, the first one.
Yep.
I went through the second two for the first time the other day. Decent, decent films. Very much, very different from the book in a
Yes.
sense. There's a lot more action to it. Legolas appears in it, who doesn't appear in the book, and the visual character of Turiel. But it was fun. Like I actually enjoyed it a lot. But now I'm on to the good stuff. I'm rewatching the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I watched Fellowship of the Ring last night. It's one of the first films I remember watching. I remember parents got it on like DVD and stuff, and easily still one of the greatest films of all time. Like if you love like your fantasy, it is an absolute seminal piece of work. It's like an absolute classic. Definitely something that you should go and get into. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to watching The Two Towers and Return of the King as well. Um, my personal opinion, from what I remember, Return of the King is probably like the best one. And as always, Legolas, Aragon, and Gimli are amongst the three greatest trios of all time. But and to follow on that, I watched 2 films recently that really stirred out to me before I start going back into Middle Earth. I finally watched Parasite after
Oh,
you telling me for so long to watch it, and it lived up to it, man. Yeah,
yeah,
like just phenomenal, just a phenomenal film, and a lesser known film that I would recommend a lot of people to try out and watch. It's a Japanese film by a director. He's known as Shogu Ishii, but people may know him as Gakaru Ishii.
mhm,
He made this film when he was 23. He made when he was still at university. It was for his graduation project. Ironically, he was good enough that Toei, who anyone knows about anime, Dragon Ball
yes,
Z, One Piece, so on and so forth, picked it up. It's called Crazy Thunder Road. It's about like these biker gangs, you know, young people, biker gangs, violence, or kind of brings the whole like military and Japanese like nationalistic side of into it as well. Um, it's very much cyberpunk esque. It has that
yes,
like it kind of like influence like a lot of that as well. And I was really surprised how well thought out it was for someone that you're literally like a student and you've made such an amazing piece of work.
yes.
And it kind of showed moving forward. I think Tarantino has mentioned like his films that he's like watched a lot of his work, but definitely check out Crazy Thunder Road if you can, for sure.
Um, yeah, no, and just to piggyback off what you said, Return of the King did win Best Picture. So I mean, obviously that was a special film. Um, AJ, it's been a pleasure, man,
As
getting
always,
back with
bro.
you. Guys, want to thank you. Last episode, we had over 200 views. Um, and that
Appreciate
was
you
without
guys.
even having like a UFC fight. So we really appreciate that. We're gonna keep working and keep getting better. Next week we might have something new for the show. Like and subscribe. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram. AJ, I will see you next week, man. UFC 294. Let's get it. All
Big
right.
one.
HOA MMA out.